everyone. Welcome to the Castaways Schools Competition Teacher Information webinar. I'm Linda Zero, the curator of Castaways, and with me is Jack Charlton, the school's facilitator. We're going to look at some dates, important dates. The 7th of June, entries are already open now. The 7th of June is when entries close, so diarise that. 17th of June, not long after, schools will be notified if the entry has been successful. By the 29th of July, final designs must be confirmed, and that means that you've addressed everything that could be problematic in that design, which has been picked up by the selection panel. The 19th of August, catalogue content is due. So this is really just a short statement about the work. And then by the 14th of September, artwork needs to be completed and a final photo provided for the catalogue. So all entries are online. So go to the link provided, and as it says here, your sculpture doesn't need to be completed when you submit an entry form. It's an idea. It's not a completed work. Each school can apply for a fee of $100 for someone to attend installation and de-installation. So those reimbursements are paid after the exhibition, and you will need to complete a feedback form before that will be paid. You do need to fill out an EFT form. Jack, who's with me here, is the school's facilitator. Jack will have those forms or email them to you. We'll have them physically as well if she is coming to visit you. So we need to make sure those sorts of things are done early. So the selection criteria, I guess what the selection panel is looking for is a thoughtful and creative use of recycled and repurposed components, a very clear and detailed concept design, a succinct description of the work and construction and installation information, and how the work is secure. That's really important if you're working with an artwork that is going to be out in the weather, in the rain perhaps, we hope not. But wind, Rockingham can get quite windy sometimes. And then the selection panel also looking at the strength of the vision and the concept, and also the consideration of public safety and interaction. So that's really important too. Nothing sharp, obviously, that could hurt even the smallest of children.
So your inspirations can come from the materials that you're going to use, the site, the environment. You can be humorous, you can go on puns, you can think a little bit deeper, maybe about the environment is always one, obviously, with the schools that comes up, where we get a lot of coastal designs, but they're beautiful and they do fit into the surroundings down there. But your inspiration can really come from anywhere. Your original materials, or your children, maybe your students will have an idea already. So it's a bit chicken and the egg as to whether you have your idea first or your material first as to which you use.
Yeah, she might find a great, kind of thing out, that's been thrown away and think, yes, I can do something with that. Yeah. Or what can we do with that? So it can come from many areas. Yeah. So talking about being clear in this description of the work, the sketch that you send in should have every detail. So on the right here, is obviously not enough detail. It's great to see applications that actually have measurements on it that show us that the school is very aware of the limits and allowances of measurements in the exhibition. So for schools, I will come to that in a minute. But you can see by this drawing here, it's got measurements, it's got what the legs are made of and all that kind of thing. So important that it's really clear.
Okay, so works at a low level, likely to be accidentally walked on by visitors. So they do get damaged if they're very low or flat. So it's nice to build up, I guess, and obviously things hanging out, sticking out, wire needs to be curled in. Yeah, there's security down there.
There is, but the problem is with very low works to the ground, and we've found this before, people walk on them, kids walk on them as well, and then we have to keep calling you to come down and fix it because something's broken on it. So it's best to just completely avoid something that is really low to the ground that anyone could walk on. Yeah, it'll just be a nuisance for you in the end to have to continuously come down and fix it. So we want to see in the design how all the elements are secured and how you're addressing sharp elements like turning things inwards and that kind of thing. You've addressed the correct size of the work so that the footprint is 1 metre by 1 metre and 3 metres high. We need to see that you know that is the allowance. Any soft elements have to be, you've just got to check everything. Any sharp elements at eye height are definite no-no. Loose elements will just fly off. Hanging elements longer than 2 centimetres. So in the wind, if you've got something like a bird or something on a bit of fishing lines, for instance, or something like that, if you have it any longer than 2 centimetres, all that will happen is that the bird will just fly over and over and will just fly everywhere, into people, whatever, and it'll break off. So anything that's hanging can really only be, that 2 centimetres, and that's really not long enough to do any damage to the work or anybody else, and it's not going to fly around and make the work look ugly in the end. So that's important too. So as it says here on the works over 1 by 1 metre square won't be accepted.
And that's the footprint. So you've got to fit within that 1 metre square footprint. You can't. It can't be the area of your sculpture be a metre square. If that makes sense, I guess. So you can't do 2 metres by half a metre, because although that is a metre square, it's got to go in a metre square footprint. Yeah,
you can't play around with the measurements. It is what it is. It's exactly 1 metre by 1 metre. And you can't play around with that. So the judges will consider the responsive use of the materials and how well the construction is fabricated, hidden or less obvious symbols, creating a sense of wonder or discovery. And that's great for kids, obviously visiting the show as well, to discover something within the work. Scale and position of the artwork and how the public will view the work, the statement about the work and the materials, techniques and the process used, the environmental message or theme, and the impact and engagement with the public, and whether it's tactile or the use of textures, contrasts and colour. So, we've seen some fantastic... We'll show you a couple at the end if you haven't been involved in Castaways before. We do have a couple of photos to show you.
So the interactive works need to be hardy. They've got to withstand the curiosity of the public. Obviously, smaller children do tend to want to come up and pull and tug at things, so the things do need to be well fastened. Interactive wise, we've had seats down there, but they're strong enough. There is a crate maybe that's been covered. Just got to think about that.
Yeah, I might add that Jack will be with you all the way on this, so she'll be in contact with you and guiding you. So if you have questions along the way, Jack's there for that. And if you're in Rockingham, you'll be visiting the schools. And if not, by phone or email or whatever, but whatever problems you might encounter along the way, Jack is there to help you with that. Okay, so you need to think about how the sculpture fits into the coastal environment, or uses the location as a reference, and does it use outdoor elements? We've often had works, even with CDs and things that kind of reflect, really beautifully in the sunlight in that particular environment. Does it produce sound at all? The sound can't be too loud if it does, because it upsets everybody. The other works that are close by if it's too loud. Whether the sculpture will interact with the audience, as Jack mentioned, we've had chairs before people can sit on, and people love that, and it's a great photo opportunity for visitors as well. Jack is now going to talk a little bit more in depth about some things to watch out for.
Okay, so once you've chosen your idea for the sculpture, you've got to think about some of the practicalities behind making and installing, and also thinking about sizes. I have had a school before that made something very large, and when it came to taking it out, they actually couldn't get it through the doorway. So although it's just over that metre square, thinking about that, maybe you can take it apart. Maybe it can be something that can be stacked when you're down at the beach. Although installation is early, if you have got time, you can be down there for a couple of hours if you need to be putting it together down there. And transport as well, to be able to take it out of the classroom, to get it onto a trailer, or is it going into a car? Maybe think about that before you start building something that's the size of the Eiffel Tower, or your metre square by 3 metres if you're only going to drive a Mini. Maybe just think about how you're going to get your sculpture down there. This is Carol's piece. So this was that was down on the beach in the main exhibition, but it just shows you the piece that she has, and how she's actually put the drawing together that she submitted in her entry. So that sometimes in the conceptual stage of an artwork, ideas, materials may change slightly, and the details of the changes must be forwarded to the curator for review, or if you just let me know. But yeah, so she's done a very clear drawing there, and obviously shown the materials that she's using and actually how she's fitting it down onto the beach, the inside of the sculpture as well. And same here as well. So we've got the drawings there. So in your initial submission, it's important to put your method of installation and the construction of the artwork, including the armatures, which is the inside of the structure, the fixings and the materials. Any doubt the curator has with the structural integrity of the artwork will be discussed with the teacher in charge, and allows the teacher to make the appropriate changes to the design prior to the selection process taking place. But I can go through that with you as well. Yeah. So obviously with the schools, they're actually up in Churchill Park, so it's a grassed area. You won't be able to use star pickets. It's really tent pegs that you'll need to use, and even with tent pegs, you'll not be able to use guy ropes. So you have to think about the stability of your piece. So guy ropes aren't allowed, obviously, tripping hazard, and with the reticulation under the ground, that's why the star pickets can't be used. But you can peg down with large tent pegs. No bamboo sticks. We've had bamboo sticks; they just break. They don't last at all. So yeah, and maybe even think about weight as well. Even old bottles filled with water, that's possible. Concrete in a bucket like this one, you can slot in, and then you can put pegs over the actual crossbars of the. It's very surprising sometimes. We think that Rockingham is windy, but actually when you're down there on a windy day, it's incredibly windy. You don't really think about it. So that's really important that middle structure is really strong. So you can make your armatures, you can use things, an umbrella stand can work with a pole inserted in the stand to increase stability, make sure the pole doesn't wobble, firmly fixed into the stand. You can pack it out with PVC piping or wooden dowels. The other things you can use, Carol's put on here exercise bikes, or even thinking about a small table turned upside down. If you had a small table upside down, you've got 4 legs that you can use to build on. You can then tent peg around that table into ground to hold it there.
These works are from the main exhibition, so don't be put off by their sophistication. And this is what I guess showing how...
You're top heavy. Yeah. So if you're going to go to 3 meters, just don't be using something super heavy at the very top on something very, very thin that's going to hold it up, because it won't hold it up down there. It will be against the elements down there. For larger items, multiple fixing points may be required. Fixings can include cable ties, prop rivets, wire and metal staples. Glue, people use glue every year. It does work, but sometimes it doesn't. We do find with hot glue gun, obviously, students, it's very easy to use milk bottle tops. They're used a lot. They're not the easiest thing to fix. And even hot glue gun, it lasts for a while, but they can still be flicked off. So maybe I would look at drilling holes into the caps that you can stitch on, using wire to fix rather than glue. Glue, it's good if you're inside, but it's just the elements. The glue just don't really
And
withstand.
Don't forget, there is reticulation there. And although I think they actually do switch the reticulation off, but nonetheless, you've still got the dampness of overnight, perhaps, that kind of thing.
Yeah. These are wings that were made from milk bottles. Very easy for students to cut. And when you've got a lot of pieces of the same material together, it's very effective. So this is a chicken wire armature. Chicken wire is very handy, but equally it's quite dangerous. You have to be very, very careful with the ends when you're putting chicken wire together. And this one's all attached to the armature again with cable ties, which are very handy cable ties.
Cable ties are used an awful lot actually at Castaways in the schools section. Very, very popular.
You don't already have ideas in place. We've got milk bottles, cans, steel cans, core flute, which is the plasticky from political science, the plasticky cardboard, plastic bottles and lids, obviously. And what you can do with those materials, they're obviously all materials that are quite easy for students to manipulate and to cut. Sharp edges, probably. I'm not sure about the cans, and I know sometimes when you pull out a can lid, they're not that sharp. So you just got to be aware of things that are sharp. Very much so. You must have fun. Your students must enjoy it. It's a great project to be part of, and yeah, I should hopefully be popping into most of you if you're in Rockingham, or I will be on the phone to you or just an email away.
Okay. All right. So here's a couple of previous works. It's John Tonkin Education Support Centre. So very simple work. 2020 vision by Oakwood Primary School. They're great fun pieces.
Really good fun.
And, you know,
Colour.
visitors to Castaways just love the school section. You know, they really enjoy it because it is a bit more playful. There's some other resources there. And at Remeda, all of you probably know about Remeda already, but there's a website link there. If your school is wanting an artist in residence to assist, contact Jack and we should be able to put you onto someone. And as mentioned before, there's a $100 fee that you can apply for, and also school excursions. And we had them for the first time last year. And honestly, the schools that did come just absolutely loved it. They really made a day of it. There was one school who bought picnics for all children. Yeah, that was fantastic. You can get a guided tour by Jack as well. That needs to be booked in, you know, obviously ahead of time. The city also has funds to assist for local schools with excursion costs. This is on a first come, first served basis and needs to be organised well ahead of the exhibition. So there's our contact details. And yeah, we look forward to receiving your entries. And if you've got any questions, we can answer them, we hope. Oh, wow, there's lots. Okay. Oh, Sheoak Grove Primary School, Baldivis, South Coast Baptist, Hale, hello. Kalamunda Primary, that's great. St Vincent School in Parmelia, oh, wow. And, okay, that's fantastic to have some schools there we haven't seen before.
Absolutely.
How terrific, yeah. Carey Baptist College, Forestdale, fantastic. How many schools are selected? That, you know, we try to get every single school in, basically. We want to make sure that we want to really encourage every school, and we want to make sure that their designs are right for the environment, and they're not going to fall down, then nothing's going to happen to them. So that's the first step. We want you all to be in it, but you've got to have that, you know, really secure design. Look, last year we probably had maybe about 20.
Yeah, I think it was just under 20.
Yeah.
Photos of previous entries. There are quite a lot of previous entries online if you Google. I believe you can also download the previous catalogues. And if you go through the catalogues, there will be school section in there. I guess the only thing about that is that in the school sections, if it was a time when a photo came in that they weren't completely ready, then it will only be a very small snippet of that photo. But there should be quite a lot online.
Must it have an environmental theme? Well, just by the very nature of collecting materials for the work, that is an environmental message in itself. We have had things like all sorts of old things that have popped up in the show, but in that, you know, that very act of collecting recycled things, it is an environmental work anyway. Adult to do the bulk engineering and students to help make it come to life.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, there have been teachers that have used the handyman to weld up a structure for the inside. And if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, it's a school's competition. So there's still the brainstorming and the ideas needs to come from the students. And the students obviously need to have a large part in it. But if you're saying the engineering of it, absolutely, that wouldn't be an issue.
Although there isn't a sort of monetary prize,
but they've got their piece in a public display. The kids love to come down and see that.
And the families and all that. And we did last year have a school from up in the hills, which is a major thing for them. And that you know, they had a busload of kids come down as well, and you know, talks. We managed to get hold of an artist who would have a chat to them as well. So, you know, it was, we can have some really great fun with some tours and stuff like that.
Definitely.
As well.
Yeah.
What happens to the winning designs? Oh, look, you can then usually schools put them on display at the school. That's usually what happens to them.
I think because it's quite a big thing to bring a sculpture down and to install. It's a few hours of installation. and it's down there for, was it 10 days?
Yeah.
So it probably won't be in the perfect condition that you brought it down in. But yeah, a lot of schools take them away and they put them in their gardens or in a wet area in the school. With regards to recycled materials, it doesn't have to be 100% at all. If you can make it 100%, then that's great.
In the main exhibition, it's 65% now, recycled materials. So I imagine it's the same in schools. No, we understand that, there are sometimes you will need to buy some things, that to be able to complete the work. Yeah. Anybody else?
Is everyone just good and raring to go?
Great questions. Great questions. Come on.
Okay, so where is that for the schools? They're displayed down on Churchill Park, which is down on the main foreshore, where they've recently taken out the parking and they have a big sculpture down there, and it's on the grass just up there.
It's actually very near. You've got the beach where the main exhibition is. Churchill Park butts onto the beach. The school section is also next to the information tent as well. So it's basically the first thing that people see when they come into Castaways from the main road is the school section. Yeah, we have it on the grass because it's easier for the schools to be able to install on grass, obviously, but it is also the first thing that visitors will see. And certainly for a lot of people who can't or won't go onto the sand on the beach to look at works, the schools are a great option. You might have people who, even though we do have matting for wheelchairs and stuff like that, there's a lot of people who just, because of their age or whatever, don't feel confident on the beach. They can still enjoy the show by, looking at the school's entries. So I think it's really important to have them on the grass as that first introduction for visitors to have a look at the whole show. To get into Churchill Park, to be able to install, we have some bollards down on that you can drive right up onto the grass. Yeah, basically. Yeah. There is a installation plan. You'll be told where your work will be going on the day. There will be a map of that. You'll also need to be part of the installation roster. So close to the time, I'll be sending out a roster saying what time would you like to come in and install. A certain amount of people are allowed through at a time. So you might say, oh, look, I want to come at 7:00, but you've got to get in early because other people might say exactly the same thing. So the sooner you answer that email and nominate your time that you want, the sooner you'll get the time that you want, because I can only let, a certain amount of people through within half an hour. So it's in half-hour increments when you arrive. So you choose 7 to 7:30 or whatever. So it can be quite hellish otherwise, unless we do that. It can be chaos if we don't do that roster and just, have people coming in little dribs and drabs rather than, having everyone turn up at once. So, you can get right onto the grass and unload from your trailer to the position that you've been given.
And bring a toolbox with just some cable ties and wire.
Just in case. Okay. Any more questions?
I think. All good?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I'll see you all soon.
See you.
Bye.